everybody. This is Kim Phelan. I'm the editor-in-chief of the No BS Marketing Letter. And today, while I'm sitting here in my office, almost 7 o'clock in the morning, I am talking with Tom Breeze, who is the CEO of Viewability, which is based in the UK. Tom is a leading video advertising expert who has been featured on GKIC's stage. And quite honestly, I was so impressed with his presentation at our 2016 Info Summit, which was about YouTube advertising strategies, that I invited him to this interview so more GKIC members could benefit from Tom's powerful insights about effectively utilizing YouTube in your overall marketing strategy. So Tom, welcome, and thanks so much for spending some time with me today and our GKIC community.
Thank you, Kim. And it's good to be with you. And hopefully I can give you lots of valuable information on the call and make sure your listeners benefit from everything we're about to share.
Awesome. Well, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you spending a little part of your day. So I opened up my notes that I have been referring back to constantly from Info Summit. And while I was reviewing my notes from your talk in San Antonio, it strikes me, just to kind of jump right into our subject, it strikes me that there is kind of a foundation of understanding that a small business owner needs to have before they just kind of charge into the wilderness of internet marketing and YouTube marketing specifically. So can you kind of give us like a preface and sort of set the stage of what it is we need to know? I think this is just a good place to start. I'm going to refer to my notes a little bit here, but, describe what's been happening in terms of, how people buy and the impact that the internet has had on that.
Yeah, of course. I think that I think when it comes to a lot of marketing online, I think that a lot of people have lost the insight really in terms of realizing that still we're doing business with other human beings. I feel like sometimes when it comes to online, everyone just looks at the numbers and look at it purely as like hey, look, this is a really good hack, or this is a really good technique to do this, that, and the other and things. And sure, those can get like temporary results. But the way that we look at advertising from our perspective is to make sure that we are actually getting in front of customers that are likely to be ready to buy from you, and don't just think, I've got you're not just going to go out there and just promote really hard on something. Instead, what you're going to do is look to build actually a relationship and give the user such a good experience. And that's kind of, I think, I've been writing a book recently about this, and I think the realization that we're coming to is like it has to start with the user first. It has to start with the person online who could potentially be interested in what you do. Everything that you do has to start there first. Any of the clever techniques and the strategies you can put into place are all good and well, but it's understanding that you're talking to another human being first off. And if you can give them an amazing experience, and it's just not real like a pushy sell and thinking, hey, look, why is not anyone signing up for my webinar or something along those lines? Maybe that person didn't want a webinar. Maybe they weren't interested in what you had to offer. Maybe your ad just turned them off straight away. And the way that I explain it to a lot of people is like, imagine if you were selling to me and I was one-to-one in the same room as you, talking to you. What honestly would you say to me at that point? And people drop their guard of like having to be all salesy. They talk to me like a normal human being. They ask me questions. And at that point, they can actually be a lot more helpful to me and guide me on the best process to think about doing business with them. And that really is the way that business has been done for years and years and years and years. But more recently, over the last, let's say, 10, 20 years, we've got more and more comfortable with going online as consumers, as users. So if there's something that we want, we immediately get our phones out, or we go to our computers and start doing research first. We don't go to the store anymore first. We don't ask the sales representative questions like we used to.
Unless you're my husband, who refuses to get on the internet, and he likes to actually run himself ragged and run around to every store and talk to human beings. He does. I think he's the exception in this world.
Well, he might have it completely right. He might just have it completely right. I think that it's just we're just really early as marketers and advertisers. We're early in this field, and we haven't had the years of experience of understanding how online really works and how we can take an offline experience of what it used to be like, and the experience we used to have as buyers, to be able to now go online and for it to be a similar experience. All the tools are out there, all the data is out there. We can get in front of exactly who we want to with the right message at the right time. But I feel like people look at, especially video, they'll look at it as like a TV ad campaign. Here's my one ad, I'm going to show it to everybody and hopefully people will like it. And if they don't, well, maybe our reach numbers were great and maybe maybe people saw it lots of times, and that's what we're going to measure our success on. Whereas the way that I look at any advertising we do with our clients, and we in the agency, we only get paid on results. But the way we do it is to really start with the user in mind. Think about what impact we need to have with that user. Make sure they build that relationship and they want to actually do business with that brand. And that's kind of, it's all based on ROI. So everything I'm talking about here, whilst it sounds somewhat obvious sometimes to be like, hey, look, you've got to treat people online like you would do if they're offline. That's an obvious thing to say, but I'm basing that based on return on investment and looking at where we're spending money on advertising and where we're getting results. So it's really a case of understanding the user first. And there's a story that I think wraps this up quite well in terms of understanding how, as advertisers or marketers, we can go about and do business online. Is that early last year, I was asked by a friend of ours, and it was in this big WhatsApp group. So I'm not sure if you've been in WhatsApp groups before, but you can sometimes get like 15, 20 people in a WhatsApp group and it's constantly pinging through. But one of my friends had to pull out of doing the marathon, and he was doing it for charity. He had raised some money already, and someone had to take his place. And I knew nothing about running a marathon. I'm relatively fit and healthy. I go to the gym every now and again, but I used to play a lot more sport than I do now. But for some reason, I just said, all right, yeah, I'll do it. I'll take a place. And it was kind of like a challenge in my head. Yeah, why not? Let's do it.
Okay.
So I publicly stated this to about 15 of my mates to say, yeah, I'll take up the challenge. And my very next thing, after confirming that I'll do it, was to go online, still on my mobile phone, go online and type in how to run a marathon. That was the first thing I typed in.
Hilarious.
And I was in this, what I would now call a moment. I was in a moment of need of understanding what on earth do I need to actually do? And soon enough, what I realized was that I was already way behind. The first thing I read was like, make sure you have, I think it was like 25 weeks. I said, make sure you've got 25 weeks to train at least for a marathon. And I think I had 13 or 14 weeks to go. So I'd done no training and I was already way behind. But the interesting thing is we all do this, right? So like, there's either something in our external world will trigger us in some way and it will make us think, okay, I need to go and find out more information. And we're in a moment at that point and we're kind of wanting to either know something, do something, want to buy something, or want to just like, we are in a moment of need basically, and we're doing our research.
Right.
But there'll also be people that are just naturally like will have a hobby or have a common interest with other people. Like say, for example, if you're really into snowboarding, for example, the chances are you follow certain snowboarding experts and watch their stuff all the time. Right. So you have like people that are either naturally interested in certain topics or people that have all of a sudden become very interested. So like when we realized my wife was pregnant with our second boy, we weren't expecting it. It's an amazing surprise. Don't get me wrong. It's been amazing. And he's now just turned 1 recently. But at that moment in time when I found out, it's like your brain goes through so many different emotions, but you're in that moment of like, right, a bit of panic, well, quite a bit of panic, in fact, and then kind of complete joy and nervousness and apprehension, everything that comes with it. Yep. And the first thing you do is kind of go online and say, like, right, what do we need to do? We need to buy a new buggy. We need to think about buying a new car. We need to think about maybe we need to move house and all this stuff. But for us as advertisers and marketers, when people have these moments, we all tend to go online these days, type something in and look for information about something. And we know what people are doing online. Google have all this information. Facebook have all this information. We know all this data's out there. And if, say, for example, I look up, let's say, for example, how to run a marathon, then there's so many businesses that should be paying attention to the fact I'm doing that. So The obvious ones are people like Nike, for example, should really be saying, if you're running a marathon, it's the first time, these are the shoes we recommend for you. That would be the perfect thing for me to hear about at that moment in time. It could be a personal trainer who lives in my area could advertise to me and say, hey, look, here's a bespoke personal planner for anyone who's running the London Marathon this year. I'd have definitely downloaded them or bought it or whatever I need to do at that point. So you get all these different services and products that can link into the moments that we're having. But you can think a bit more abstract about this. So say, for example, I was just about to type in, or I just typed in how to run a marathon, then hotels near the start line of the marathon could have easily said, hey, look, we're doing a marathon special for anyone who wants to stay the night before. We are doing some sort of like, you can eat the most perfect food. We'll put it on for you. We'll have like kind of physios there and people giving massages and things the night before. So in the morning, you're just completely prepared. Now, I had no clue about what I needed, what I didn't need. And at that point in time, adverts like that, if they'd been getting in front of me, if a hotel had thought it through and thought, well, people going through that moment of looking up how to run a marathon or what to expect when running a marathon in London probably know that I'm going to be running a marathon. So they could spend their advertising spend on me knowing that I'm very likely to be interested in staying in a hotel the night before the marathon. And so it's just anticipating what your customers are doing online and identifying what moments they're having. And as a business, you can identify where you can intersect those moments and say, right, well, we can provide value to that user, help them make a decision about what to do, and really guide them along that process. Because we know they're in a moment where they need to know more information about a marathon, and here's all the information, and here's what we can help them with. And if you start there and you map it out, and you map out all your customer moments, what they're likely to do, then all of a sudden you know what you would like to say to them, you know where to advertise to get in front of them, and that's really like two of the main parts. And the next thing is your offer, like what are you actually going to provide to them? But it's about kind of like simplifying the whole process. It's not just saying, here's my main keywords for my business, and here's my ad that I've got, and maybe someone's going to be interested. It's starting with the user, as I talked about previously, thinking about their moments, thinking about what you would say if you met them in their moments, and then what would you offer to them as well. And if you can get that all aligned, you'll find that business becomes a lot easier when it comes to promoting your business online.
Right. And you know, I think what's key, what you're talking about, is that there's more than one category of user. I mean, I've always been sort of turned off by pigeonholing people, but in a way, you know, there are groups, there are segments of people. You know, I think you referred to them as like some are window shoppers, and so you need to speak to them differently. And you know, some are in-store browsers. You know, if you think in terms of a shopping mall, you know, there are in-store browsers who are now interested, you know, but they're gathering. And then there are others, like with your marathon example, who, you know, you are needy, and you really are intensely interested. So, you know, there's a lot more to this strategizing.
I think you're completely right. I think there's like we try to look at it as like three different types of potential customer any business might have. So you've got the people that so if you imagine, let's go offline, let's go 30 years ago and we had a physical store on the high street or the main street, for example, then you'd have some people just walking past that would not be interested in what you've got, and they wouldn't even turn their head. And that's fine. Those people are not really your potential customers. But then you've got three levels of potential customer for you after that point. You've got those people that stop outside the store and kind of look in, and because you've turned their head, they're potentially interested. They weren't necessarily looking for you, but what you offer is something they're interested in. I know if I ever walk past an Apple store, for example, I know I'm going to stop and look at what they've got, because I don't necessarily keep up to date with what they're bringing out, for example, but I'm always wanting to be in the know, so to speak. So I've got a general passion for that brand, and I want to find out more information about it when the time is right, because I'm just genuinely interested. So I would likely be a window shopper. I'm not ready to buy necessarily, but I'm definitely interested to hear more information. If I was to then walk in store and go into the Apple store, for example, then I might start looking at certain products and looking at the products and looking at the features. I might be interested in having a conversation with one of their geniuses, I think they call it, or genius bar, I don't know what they call it. But if I start engaging with one of their members of staff and ask them questions, it's showing that I'm not just interested, but I'm actually now looking for something. And my intent is activated in terms of I'm actually looking for advice, I'm looking for information, I want to see a demonstration of the product maybe. And so I'll become an in-store customer. And then you've got the final type of customer, which is the one where they've kind of made a decision. They said, yeah, okay, I've done my research and I know kind of what products I want to buy now. And at that point, it might just be about like structuring the deal for them. Like, okay, so if it's more of an expensive deal, is there something you can throw in? How can you give them that assurance that they know that they're buying the right thing? Is there any guarantees or warranties you can put with the product? It's just making sure they feel really comfortable and certain with that purchase. And so those three types of customers have always existed, but they also always exist online as well. It's just we tend to just bombard people with the same message. That's what most people do. But the great thing about places like Google in particular, and when I say Google, I really mean YouTube and Google, because YouTube is owned by Google, they'll give you certain targeting strategies that you can use that gets in front of these different types of customers. So if you're getting in front of like a window shopper, for example, there's many different tactics to do that. You can use things like similar audiences or customer affinity audiences. Whilst that might sound like jargon, once you start advertising with Google, it's quite simply just an option that you choose. You're getting in front of people that are interested, but might not be necessarily doing their research just yet. So your message for them needs to be more about why they should be interested in what it is you have, and give them that kind of like motivation to actually be interested. You know, for me, we know they might be interested in advertising or promoting their business. They might be entrepreneurial, for example. So we know that's their mindset. They're not necessarily looking right now for how to get more customers. So we need to talk to them in a way that gets them interested in that topic to begin with. If you were to like look at the Google advertising strategies or the ones that you can do on YouTube as well, then of course, if people are searching for information and they're typically wanting to know more information about what to do, how to do it, then you know that in that research mode. And so obviously from that perspective, you can advertise to them with things like keywords or placements. And so you can literally identify which targeting option attracts what type of potential customer, and therefore the message needs to be slightly different for that type of customer. If you're going to YouTube looking for information about something, then when you show your YouTube ad to that person, you want to make sure it's just straight into content and give them good advice. So if I'm looking to learn how to fix my car, for example, I don't want someone selling to me saying, hey, here's the best mechanic in the world. It's like, I just want to know what I need to do to fix my car. So they say, okay, here's 3 things you'll need to check underneath the bonnet to make sure that you can fix your car quickly. And I'll be like, great, what are those 3 things? And so it's straight into content for those people. It's like if you're going in-store to a shop or a store, you want to talk to the sales representative, but you don't necessarily be sold to. You just say, hey, what's all the features here? And they just tell you what the features are, and that sells itself anyway. So it's a slightly different message to that type of customer. Sure. And then, of course, if someone's like in a moment where they're just ready to buy, you can choose things like in-market audiences when you target your customers, or things like remarketing or retargeting tends to work particularly well with customers that are really close to buying because they've probably been to your website or watched your videos before. You then just need to have a very succinct message to those people. So it might be like, hey, look, you checked out this stuff, you're very close to making a purchase. You might not say that in the actual ad, of course, but you might say, why don't you take us up on our offer today where we can some sort of incentive maybe, or some sort of bonus that you can potentially put together to help them make that decision to come and buy from you. And so it's taking like an offline experience and think about them like window shoppers or in-store customers or people at the checkout, and tailoring your message for those different audience members or that different type of customer. And then it's simply a case of just selecting the right targeting strategy. Okay. And it's I tell you what, it's kind of like it's taken a long time to understand it from everyone's perspective. I feel like there's lots of AdWords agencies out there, lots of people doing a lot of promotion with video as well. But I feel like it's taken us a long time to imagine it, how it actually works, these different platforms. But it is just a case of like identifying what type of customer you get, how to communicate them and how to target them. And that's really the be-all and end-all of advertising online, really.
Right. So like a flood of questions are rushing to my mind. First of all, so are you saying that it's fairly intuitive, or the tools and the choices that you have as a sort of a do-it-yourself marketer it's fairly simple to use. I mean, they spell it out. They give you options and tools on the Google and YouTube end, so that it's not so overwhelming. So it's really then just a matter of you crafting your offer and crafting the right message for the right audience, for the right um, target listener.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be laid out for you as I've been talking to you like now, if that makes sense. Google doesn't make it quite that simple. They're very geeky, tend to be YouTube and Google. So, and also the message behind it and things isn't going to be the sort of thing where they guide you on exactly what to say.
Okay.
Hence why there are agencies like myself to do that process.
Sure.
But the thing is, I think that so many people get overwhelmed by all the tech or by the, oh my God, I've got to have this sales message and this really kind of clever way of selling, for example. And the way that I look at it is like, if you're trying to really sell and trying to work out all this kind of, all the nuances and things, that's a really difficult place to begin with. The place to begin with is like, okay, here's my potential customer. Maybe you just say to yourself, okay, here's someone who's just bought from me and is like a really good customer, and we've done lots of business for many years, maybe, or something along those lines that you think, right, I've identified my perfect type of customer and I want more of them. And just map it backwards and say, well, what do they do? Where would they come from? What were they up to? What were they searching for in order to find me? And if you kind of work it backwards and try to identify what moment they had, and it's not too difficult to do that. Most of your customers have some sort of similarity in them. Then you can kind of work it backwards and say, because they had this mindset, this is how they saw, this is what they did online, this is where they found me. And that then becomes like, right, you just need to optimize for that process and think, really, it's just about your customer and thinking, right, what are they doing? How would I like to speak to them? Ignore all the sales messages, ignore all the really clever copywriting. One-to-one, if you're speaking to somebody, you can easily communicate to them and sell to them, and you don't have to go into sales mode. It's just you being like, if I was talking to you, Kim, now, like I am, but I was looking to sell to you, I wouldn't go into sales mode all of a sudden. Of course, I might highlight the benefits and the features of what our agency does potentially, but I'm still thinking about it as like I'm not overthinking the sales message. I'm not overthinking like, oh, I've got to tell you this, and here's a big scarcity part of the message, for example. It's much more a case of just like, here's how I've talked to you about potentially you advertising using YouTube ads, and it's simply a case of just talking one-to-one and forgetting all the sales message. Just go back to basics. And that's what people are crying out for online. People just want that authenticity. Everyone says it, but no one actually does it. And people want that kind of like, see a bit of credibility maybe, so they know they can buy from someone they actually know, like, and trust, and not a salesperson, if that makes sense.
Right. Another big question that is sort of like right at top of mind is, we're talking about advertising on YouTube. So are we talking about video ads, actual video content, or are we talking about placing static ads near, things of interest, content of interest, so can you just kind of clarify that for me?
Yeah, so with YouTube, you have two options, well, actually three different types of ad. By far, and the most prevalent type of advertising, I suppose, on YouTube is going to be videos. So it's going to be the pre-roll ads that everyone's used to, where you have to wait for 5 seconds before you can skip the ad button.
Oh, sure.
So everyone's used to those ones. The great thing about those videos, in fact, is when you run those as ads, then you only pay as an advertiser when someone watches past 30 seconds of your video. So it means if someone was to watch 29 seconds and then skip the ad, you wouldn't pay anything as the advertiser. Only for a really good engagement from somebody. And even then, it's normally very cheap. You're normally looking at less than 10 cents, and often quite more like 2 or 3 cents per view. So it can work very cost effectively that way, but you're only paying for really engaged viewers. So there's that type of adverts. You'll also have the adverts that appear at the top of the search results on the right-hand side of a video that you might be watching. So you normally see like an ad appear that looks like the thumbnail of the video. So if people click that to play it, then you'll pay as soon as someone clicks that one, because they've engaged with it. But then you do have image ads on YouTube. You do have some text ads as well that can appear as well. In some videos. So sometimes you might be watching a video and then in the lower thirds, the bottom section, like a text ad might appear. they don't get as far as, like, they still can do very well for clients, but we don't necessarily focus too heavily on those because we tend to be a video creation company as well as a advertising company. So we typically kind of like go for the pre-roll ads and the what's called a discovery ad as well. Tend to be our main focus for YouTube advertising.
Okay. I'm going to ask you for some advice in a minute, but before I do, because GKIC, I mean, one of our clear core tenets of teaching has to do with direct response and how there will always be an offer, you know, and you want your dollars to, you know, be accountable and so forth. But can you talk just briefly about direct response as a philosophy and how it can be sort of laid into this template of YouTube marketing?
Yeah, of course. I mean, yes, everything that we do really is direct response in a roundabout way. So any ads that we run are going to have a call to action at the end of the video, asking the viewer to do something next, whether it be click to go back to your website, or maybe it will click to see another video, or click to subscribe, for example. Depends on what the focus is for each client that we work with. And often we'll do a bit of a mix of different things, but there's always a strategy to get someone to go to whatever the first offer might be. And that's going to be on the website. So there's always going to be a click from your YouTube ad to a website. That's very likely to happen. Sometimes we kind of like run an ad campaign purely to generate subscribers for a YouTube channel, but in the vast majority of cases, it's going to be a video that goes out there, builds a lot of kind of like bond with the user, and then has a link to go directly from that video to the website. And so, yeah, and then you'd be measuring how many people not only click, but also opt in or take the next step with that particular business. Now, of course, some people go to the sale straight away, but we normally find we get better results when it's going to get people to opt in, like name and email in order for something of value, and build that relationship with that user. So that's what we normally find is the most effective approach when it comes to advertising on YouTube. And then it's simply a case of understanding how valuable that lead is to the business in terms of financial terms. So if you said, right, that lead now, because 10 of them have bought the product, you know how much a lead is worth to you, then you can work it backwards and say, well, we need to generate leads for less than that. And also you want to be able to do it at scale as well. So YouTube is very, very good for scale, and it's very good for generating leads cost effectively. And obviously building a really strong bond with and brand with the user as well, because you've got that whole video and a lot of information will be shared in the video, not just what's like the words, but actually kind of like what's visually seen in the video itself. But if you're able to do that and run your ads so you kind of pay $1 and you get more than $1 back from your sales, then you should find that you can ramp that up and be profitable straight away. And that's like the numbers of that are very, very important for us as an agency, because we only get paid on results. We don't charge for video creation. We don't charge for any of the ad setups. We actually fund the advertising ourselves as well. And the clients we work with only pay us for results, normally based on a cost per lead model or a cost per sale model. So yeah, what I'm sharing with you today is stuff that we know works. It's not me saying, oh, this is what could be interesting to try out. It's more a case of like, this stuff we know works and works very effectively. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here today talking about this.
I mean,
so, yeah.
that screams to me that this is an extremely lucrative, opportunity to get into and to find out more about. We were talking about price a little bit, how you don't pay unless they listen or watch past 30 seconds. So that just seems a natural transition to, I want to make sure I understand and that we as a community understand what is the cost structure for advertising on YouTube. I mean, I'm sure it's contingent on, your own budget and what you want to do, and you have explained the scalability very clearly. But how do they set up the pricing structure?
Yeah, of course. And apologies for any sounds that are happening in the background. I think we've got a motorbike just by us, so apologies for that. No worries. So the way that YouTube advertising works is it's based on a pay-per-click model. So with Google, you only pay for the clicks. I think people are used to be very aware of that. So like if you had an image ad or a text ad somewhere on Google, then as soon as someone clicked that to visit your website, that's when you would pay. On YouTube, it's slightly different. You pay for engagement. If someone decides to click your video thumbnail to watch your video, then you'll pay at that point. And typically, it's going to be around about, let's say, 5 cents on average. Some niches are going to be more expensive. So if we work in the trading world, for example, it's a lot more expensive. It can be up to like 30, 40 cents per click. And then when you have a pre-roll ad, you only pay for the engagement there. And that's after 30 seconds. So you only pay when that happens. And the great thing about this is, of course, you've got to go and create a video, sure, and that might cost you some money to go and do because you want to do it properly. But once that's done, you don't have to have like TV advertising budget to go out there and do this. You can start with like $10 a day, or less than that. You can start with $1 a day if you really wanted to, and start there and see what numbers you're looking at. I tend to actually advise most of my clients to do the opposite: spend as much money as you can in the first few days, if you know what you're doing, of course, because then you just get the data in very, very quickly. And this is all based on data. It's like once you've got the numbers in, you can say, right, we tried out 20 things, and only, let's say, only 4 of them worked. That's great. You turn off the 16 things that didn't work. You're left with 4 things that did work, and then you go and ramp those up. So you say, right, let's spend more money in those areas, and then you're going to see the natural trend. You can see what videos tend to be performing for you, what keywords tend to be performing for you, what different types of audiences would be working for you, and what messages in your videos are working for you as well. And all the data is there for you. You can see everything, and you just turn bits off that aren't working and turn the bits that are working up. I make it sound it's much more simple than it probably is, but when you look at it from that perspective and say, right, we've built these different campaigns, we're seeing what's going to be working, you're not going to nail it first day. It's going to probably be the worst day of advertising ever the first day because you don't know what you're doing. But come day 2, as long as you can read the data and you see what's happening, you can make informed decisions then. And it's amazing how many people think they know stuff about their customers, and then when the data comes in, they're like, right, we were completely wrong, which is often happens. But it's just crazy. Like lots of people make these judgment calls about who their customer is until they actually really know, and the data tells them that, okay, you thought your customers are 40 to 60-year-old males? Not so. it's a different age and it's a different gender as well. So. But obviously there's it can just happen with different clients, and YouTube is that sort of space whereby you can get in front of your audience when they're looking for you. So you tend to find the actual value of the visitor is very, very valuable for the business, because you'll find that people who are in search mode are much more likely to buy. If you're advertising on somewhere like Facebook, you're getting in front of them based on their interests, which is great. But they're not in the mindset, they're not in that moment ready to go and purchase. So you have to kind of create that moment with Facebook traffic, which is a lot more difficult with video. With YouTube, it's easy. You just turn up at the right time, give them some useful information, and they want to start doing business with you. So it makes life easier.
Here's the $50,000 question that I can easily picture a business owner saying to you right now. Isn't YouTube for millennials? I mean, what is the demographic of the universe of people who are on YouTube that are even going to be engaging with you? Can you just address that? I mean, it wasn't on our prescribed list of questions, but of course, yeah. I think it's sort of like the elephant in the room that we need to address. I mean, is it mostly 20-year-olds who are on YouTube, or is that a myth, a marketing myth?
It's not a myth. I think we get more of the younger age group on YouTube. But there are 5 billion views every single day on YouTube. How many? So it's 5 billion every single day. So there's quite a few views on YouTube to be had. If you need more than that, then there's other platforms that you can go and explore as well. But I always say to master that one platform that's going to be right for you. Of course, that's going to be a lot of that traffic's going to be younger audience. I know, for example, that in the morning when my son sometimes wakes up way too early in the morning, he did it this morning, in fact. He came into bed and into mummy and daddy's bed, sat there, and wanted us to get up, and it was like 4:45 a.m. So at that time, I normally just try and grab my phone and put on something called Peppa Pig in the UK that we have. It's like a pig cartoon that all the kids love here,
Okay.
And that's just go onto YouTube, type in Peppa Pig, press play, and it just gives me 5 minutes to slowly get up and think about reorientating myself. So you'll have like lots of different types of audiences out there, but whilst the kind of millennial age group are probably the biggest on YouTube, the fastest growing audience are people between the ages of 30 and 50. That group are the fastest growing on YouTube. So still not the biggest, but very, people are starting to adopt it more and more as a platform.
Okay.
But I mean, if you look at YouTube, I mean, it's only like, I don't know how many years old it is, but it's not very old at all. It's only been around for like not that long. So the fact that it's there and it's growing this quickly, I mean, I don't know, we have so many clients, and we turn off all the age groups that are below, typically anything below 25 we don't advertise to for all of our clients, because we know they're probably not the best buyers in the world. So you can just do that. You can turn it off, and we are able to spend for some of our clients $100,000 a month on advertising to exactly the right audience. So it's if people are worried that their audience aren't out there, they definitely are out there. That's like people are using YouTube, and there's enough of them using YouTube for sure. And it's just a case of the stats of course, yeah, the younger audience are there, but there's still like millions and millions of people who would potentially be their customers out there on YouTube. And if they're thinking about getting started, then their audience are definitely on YouTube already.
Okay. All right, good. Hey, before I let you go, I need to hear some advice from you, because
Okay.
we've been kind of all over the map with targeting and strategizing to get your right message to your right audience. Can you give me, like, say, your top 3 or your top 5 pieces of advice for just getting it right on YouTube? I mean, what do we want to make sure we're accomplishing when we go down this path?
Yeah, okay, cool. Good question. So I don't think I might have 3 or 5. I'll just say this is what I would advise people to do to get started.
Okay.
I think would be the best approach.
All right.
One thing I'll do is like think about the moment your customer will be going through when they go to YouTube looking for something to know more information about how to do something, or want to know more information about any topic, or potentially going there to buy something. I know, for example, when Inigo, my wife was pregnant with Inigo, when we found out that we were pregnant for the second time, we went and did shopping for buggies on YouTube, because we wanted to see the mums, typically mums, kind of like collapsing different buggies, showing what they're like. Because obviously hearing it from the brand is one thing, but seeing a mother use it and see how heavy it is and all that sort of stuff with a review on YouTube made our lives and made our decisions so much easier. But if you're selling buggies or selling strollers, for example, then you want to be advertising all those videos, because it's like exactly where your customers are going. So it's, first of all, understand where your customers are going, what are they doing, and then think about what you would like to say to them. Now, the strategy I would say for you is like create the video. Don't think about a sales message like in terms of like getting it perfect. Just what would you say if you're one-to-one with somebody, and don't overthink it. Put that into a video. With a clear call to action, say click the link that you can create inside of YouTube. And then what you want to do is use something called a placement campaign. And this is where you literally select the videos on YouTube that you would like to advertise in front of as a pre-roll ad. So you can say, right, when anyone searches this video or this video or this video or this video, you can pinpoint exactly the videos you want to advertise in front of, and say, my video wants to appear in front of that video. Once you do that, whilst it's not going to give you huge amounts of scale, it'll give you enough traffic to get going. It'll give you all the data you need about whether your video is good enough, what targeting is working for you, so you can turn off these videos you're advertising in front of that aren't working. And you might be left with, say, like 10 videos you're advertising in front of on YouTube that are all getting, let's say, 10,000 views a month or something. Well, it means that you're able to then get 100,000 views potentially every single month, because your ad will be showing in front of that. And then you'll have enough data to know, are people going there? Are people signing up? Are people buying your products? And then once that's working, then you can say, right, now let's move to the next moment in time. Let's create another ad, or let's expand this out a little bit further. But it's getting a YouTube video created, and then using placements as your targeting. And you literally, I mean, Google will help you with this to choose the videos that are right. But you're just going to advertise in front of the videos that are really ripe and ready for your audience to be viewing, and you know you're going to get in front of them exactly the right time. So if you were selling buggies, for example, you would create a video about your buggy, promoting it, and then you could advertise in front of all the review videos of different buggies that are similar to that. So you can say, right, if anyone's typing in or watching this video about this review of this buggy or this stroller, then you want to say, right, that video there, I want to show my ad in front of. And that's what you can do with a placement campaign. That's the one to get started with. It always gets the best results. Not going to give you a huge amount of scale, but it definitely will get you good results from day one, typically. So that's what I would recommend for users to as an action point from now. Go and check that out. Go and sign up to AdWords. Check it out. You can't break it. AdWords are pretty good at that. Keep them pretty robust. And you can put your credit card details in later, so you don't have to waste anything. But you want to put your daily budget probably around about, or whatever you can afford, but less than $20 a day to begin with, for sure.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. That's fantastic. Can you give me a success story or a recent aha? Just something that would kind of inspire us and quantify again the effectiveness of what we're talking about here.
Yeah. So something we're doing at the moment is we're trying to tell a story on YouTube through advertising. And what we do is we think about not just one video ad, because everyone's seen, like, when a brand really goes for it and want to spend a lot of money on YouTube, you tend to see the same ad over and over and over again from one brand. And whilst that video might be great, the 13th time you see it, you're like, oh, not this again, not this damn YouTube ad again. And it's not great for the brand to have that message out in front of them. Same with TV advertising. If at Christmas that's just gone by in the UK, you tend to see the same ads over and over and over again. And it's the brands are just trying to buy up all the space because they know it's a great time to put their brand out in front of that audience. What we try and do on YouTube is try and develop this a little bit further and say, well, instead of just having one ad, what if you had 4 ads that in isolation they all did really well, like they were all standalone good video ads? But what if you told a story as you went? So maybe you shot the first video, then the second video might be a bit of a behind the scenes of how you did that video. Then maybe another strategy, and then maybe another, like, you can think about whatever you want to create a story around. Because then what you can do with YouTube is you can say, right, if someone's watched video ad 1, you can stop them from seeing it anymore. And then you can get them to see video ad 2. And you can promote that video to those people that have seen video ad 1. And then you can say, right, well, if they see video ad 2 and they still haven't converted into like an opt-in, for example, then let's show them video ad 3. And you keep on cascading it down. So like by the time they've got to video ad 4, they would have seen video ad 1, 2, and 3. They still haven't converted. And that 4th video might be your last shot to get them to convert. But this all comes back to what we're talking about at the very start, is start with the user in mind. And we know that when we get a client that wants to spend big budgets every month based on ROI, we know that we can't get away with just using one ad because we're just going to annoy everybody. And it's not a great user experience. So now the user experience becomes, you might go to YouTube, Kim, type in something, see an amazing video, but you might not buy straight away. Then the next day or later that day, you see another video about that same brand that's really useful again. And this is great. And then you watch that one, still don't convert, you watch another video. And as soon as you do convert, then you won't see the ads any longer. And if you don't convert, after the 4th exposure of a new video ad, we might say, right, well, let's put you, Kim, because we've shown you 4 ads now and you still haven't bought, we'll put you in a special little group there where we don't advertise to you ever again because you're wasting our money. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you're starting off with this really good user experience, and it just so happens, I mean, it's early days for us. We've just run this out with a few clients, but we're starting to see really good results using this in terms of like people engaging with the videos, people engaging with the website and signing up cost effectively. And we just know we're creating a really good story for people on YouTube, meaning that when they get to your website, they know so much more about you, and they feel like they've had a really good experience with you prior to even engaging with your brand. So yeah, that's what we're testing at the moment. It's very good results so far, but haven't got enough data just yet to be talking about it confidently. Yeah. But no, that's what we're working on. It's very exciting times.
Well, I think that really does sound brilliant, and thank you for sharing that. I think, and it sounds like, although, my mind tends to just gravitate to some large, big corporate brand, being able to do that, but a small business could easily do something very similar, just scale it to, to your size, but how much more interesting and engaging to tell a story that way than to just keep, annoying people with your one solitary repeated message, that, blocks them between, what you're blocking them from what they really came to look for, and you're just giving them the same thing over and over again. I think what you're saying just makes so much sense.
I think it's incredibly empowering for the entrepreneur right now, because I think that when it comes to the slightly larger brands, what sometimes happens, this is not in all cases, but it can. I've been in lots of meetings before where they look at YouTube as like a TV, like second thought. Like they think, right, we've created our TV ad, now how do we stick this on YouTube again? And that's not the way to do it. But that's what they tend to be all thinking, because they don't know the power of YouTube just yet. And their budgets have been designed for TV. And they do an incredible result, get incredible results on TV. But when it comes to YouTube, it's a different beast. So it means that us as entrepreneurs, who have to be a little bit more intelligent about how we spend our money, we can look at it in a slightly different way and say, well, what actually is working here? Now, the brands will catch up. The brands will end up doing it as well. But we've got that kind of like a window whilst we're looking at purely return on investment and saying, right, dollar in, more than $1 out. Brands are still looking at it like, well, maybe YouTube's good for our brand lift, people recognizing our brand, people having a good experience with our brand. And that's great from a branding perspective, and there's a lot of value in that. But it's for the entrepreneur, it means we need to be a little bit more kind of like strategic and tactical about how we go about advertising. And this is what we see working really well, but also it's about kind of making sure that the user experience is just perfect for anyone on YouTube.
Right. Hey, this has been great stuff. And before we end, I just want to open it up to you. Is there anything you'd like to add or mention, whether advice or reminder or any final words of wisdom, little pearls of wisdom that you can share with us before we sign off?
Yeah, I think that for anyone thinking about doing any promotion for their business, especially when they're just starting out, or they've got a new business, or they haven't ventured into advertising just yet, I would say that very much like just do the one thing. Don't go and try and do two different strategies at once. Just say, right, I'm either going to go all in on this or all in on another thing. It doesn't have to be YouTube advertising. Of course, it doesn't. It could be Facebook ads. It could be content marketing. It could be SEO, whatever you want it to be. But find out what fits well with you, what sits well with you. And once you've identified that, just go all in on that. Master it and learn it and become the best you can at doing that. Instead of trying to do two things at once, because we're very bad at multitasking. Even though we think we might be good at it, everyone's poor at multitasking, and it's just about that focus, and that like essential focus on one thing is how to really master one of those platforms. And so I'd say do it until it's working for you, then try and get as much as you can out of it, and then maybe diversify and look for something else. But it's important that there is that sole focus to begin with, because that's the only way I see getting results. We've tried to do it in the agency. We've done lots of different stuff in the past. We've done it successfully, but we haven't been able to do it across all clients. And now we know we just focus on YouTube advertising at this moment in time. We do a little bit more here and there to test different avenues, but our 99% of our focus really is on YouTube advertising right now. And we know we've mastered it. We know we're still testing things out. But we know that that's our sole focus, and as a result, it means that everyone in the agency is aligned. We know what we're doing, and we can just go out there and just get the very best results on that platform. And that's the way we found is the most successful way to master that and get the best out of any platform.
Okay, that's great advice. Before I let you go, tell us how we can get a hold of you and find out more about Tom Breeze.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So the agency is Viewability. So that can be found at viewability.co.uk. And then at tombreeze.com, we've got an ad school there that there's several courses there. There's some free stuff. There's so if people sign up for an account, they get access to load of keynote presentations I've given, and there's also some paid stuff in there if people want to go and buy some stuff as well. So there's some good stuff in there as well.
Okay, awesome. Hey, Tom, thank you so much. This has been incredibly valuable. I've learned so much, and I know folks who are watching have really enjoyed it as well. So thank you for being so generous with your time. We went a little past what I promised, but it's been so valuable to me. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Kim. It's been great.
Okay, so if you enjoyed the video and you want to receive more videos just like this one, make sure you subscribe. You'll see the button on the video right now.